This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark Noose.
And good morning, and thanks so much for joining us today on Columbus Concerns. We're going to talk today about the Interscholastic Equestrian Association, and with us today is the co-founder and executive director, Roxanne Durant, and co-founder and board member, Myron Leff. Thanks so much for being here to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
IEA is the name, and it says here that the mission of IEA is to introduce students in private and public middle and secondary schools to equestrian sports. Roxanne, how did all this get started?
Well, it started with a chip on my shoulder, I'll say.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, and I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. When I was in high school, I grew up at a school that had riding as part of its activities there. And it was a wonderful life. We would walk over, finish the day at school, walk over with all your friends, spend the afternoon at the barn with your friends, and your mom would pick you up and drive you home at the end of the day. Go there every weekend, take care of the horses to help pay for your lessons, and go back to school on Monday. And, we lived there. Didn't literally live there, but we would like to, I think. We spent lots of time there, and all our friends were there, and it was, it was our extended family, really, and a wonderful way to grow up. And but as part of that school, I always was discouraged because the school, we'd go on Monday morning and they would make announcements about how the football team did over the weekend, or the baseball team, whatever, but we never talked about how the riding group did. And I kept going to the school and saying, can't we start a riding club? Can't we call it a club? Can't we call it something? Can we put our picture in the school annual, some of those things? And they were like, oh, no, we can't do that. That's not really, riding's not really a sport or, an activity like that. No, it's just a bunch of kids going over the barn every day. So little by little, we never got our picture in the annual as a group. We never stood up on Monday morning assembly and made our announcements and all that. So, and little by little, the school phased out the equestrian center, and they made soccer fields out of the riding rings. And so it became clear, these were reasons why they didn't want us getting more credit there. They were going to get rid of the program. So anyway, I carried that chip on my shoulder, and I always thought, if it were a perfect world, what I'd want to do someday is go back to that school and show them how a real integrated program, how great that could be. So I worked in the industry for a lot of years. I was lucky to get a job at a school in the Cleveland area that had just built this beautiful equestrian facility, and hired me to be the director there. And I thought, well, this is as close as I'm ever going to get. I can't really go back to the old school because they tore down the equestrian center, right? But I can have as close to that as I ever dreamed of here at this school that has built, clearly committed to their equestrian program. Mm-hmm. So within a couple months of being there, I realized, the school is college prep, right? But we're not preparing the kids to ride the way they should ride in college. So, and the collegiate programs are all draw-based. So you don't bring your own horse, as in traditional showing. You go to a host school, you draw a horse's name out of a hat, and that's who you ride. So we said, we got to prep these kids for college, get them comfortable with that format, so they're good candidates to get on these college teams, and so they're not intimidated by the format. So with the backing of the school, they said, yes, you can work together with the collegiate programs and create what would be a feeder program to that. So in all of that, the chip on my shoulder became satisfied because I finally got to go back to a school-like setting and create a program that was really everything it could possibly be, and further that even by connecting it to a good path into the college programs and all that. And I think the ultimate cherry on top was that my high school, even though they had phased out the riding program, did go back and partner with a riding stable in their area, and still to this day does have a riding team that often competes at national finals. So it's like, yay, full circle. Yeah. The dream came true.
And Myron, now IEA is all over the country, right?
We are all over the country. Proudly, we just completed our 20th anniversary, and we'll have over 14,000 kids from coast to coast, north to south, riding on our barn teams. We supply the horse for every ride, for every kid, and so there is no need to own a horse. And that makes us a great way to be exposed or expose youngsters into the equestrian world.
The website for the organization is rideiea.org. And so if you have any questions, you can go there and find out more about the Interscholastic Equestrian Association. Roxanne, he said something very interesting there. It's you provide the kid, we provide the horse, is what it says on your website. And I think a lot of people, they think, well, I'd love for my kid to be in equestrian sports, but we certainly can't afford that. But for the average person now, your organization makes this affordable.
Yes, that's one of our main goals, is to make the sport accessible to more people. I think it is traditionally known as an elitist type of sport, and but you can think of it as comparable to learning to swim or learning to ice skate. You don't necessarily have to have a pool in your backyard or an ice skating ring at your house to have access to those things. So what we've done in taking the draw-based format, which was started at the collegiate level, and taking that draw-based format for our competitions and bringing it down to the middle school, high school level, we've then brought the cost of participation, we've just cut it, by huge percentages. So it really is accessible to, I would say, to anyone that is interested. And there's a lot of people out there that are horse lovers but don't know how to get in. And so for us, we have, even for programs, we have financial aid programs for people that may not even be able to participate. But, you think about the average cost of owning a horse and boarding the horse and caring for the horse and vet care and all of those things is thousands of dollars a month. And we've sorted out the cost of participating in the IEA can be as much as like $2,000 for the whole year. Including your membership, some of your coaching fees, and all of that. So it really brings it down to something affordable. And as I said, through our programs and through some other partner programs too, we do have financial aid available to help either assist or fully cover riders who might not even be able to do that.
And I want to jump in, as we talked a little earlier, in that you read our website as the .org, and that's because we're a 501c3.
Yeah.
So we're all about the kids in the sport.
And primarily, it says here ages 9 through 19, so I guess from middle school up through high school. Considering the challenges that schools have today, and especially public schools, it'd be very difficult maybe for a public school to have an equestrian program. Is this where you come in to give the kids a chance to...
We don't come in through the school system directly.
Yeah.
We have come in through the barn organizations, and they set up the teams.
Yeah.
In each of the teams, the coaches have their own criteria. Some coaches require a team member to take a lesson a week. Some require 3 a week. We don't get into that amount of detail. But all it takes is 3 kids and a coach to form a team.
With us today from the Interscholastic Equestrian Association, Roxanne Durant, the co-founder and executive director, and another co-founder and board member, Myron Leff. Again, their website is rideiea.org. And, well, Roxanne, I know you can tell you're passionate about equestrian sports. What makes it such a great sport for young people?
Well, first of all, I think that young people, whatever their passion is, whatever their heartstring is, whether that's, arts and music or sports or, other activities, I think it's important to find fun outlets, that speak to them outside of the classroom and give them ways to practice failure, ways to practice success, ways to try on different pieces of yourself as you're growing as a into an adult. So we started, going back a little, we started the IEA for 6th grade through 12th grade riders. We found a great need. The 4th and 5th graders really wanted to be involved too. So just in the last couple years, we've added on 4th and 5th graders. So we've got now 4th grade all the way through 12th grade in our main programs. Riders can participate on a middle school team or an upper school team, middle school being 4th through 8th, upper school is 9th through 12th grade. And I have a sign that hangs in my office that's been there for years, and it says the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a person. And I think that's credited to Winston Churchill, but depends on who you ask. So I don't know. It did that for me. I was not a very good athlete. I was, the kid that got picked last for the kickball team. I got hit in the face with the ball all the time. I just was not an athlete until I found equestrian sports, and that was really my niche, and that led me into, I was more of an individual athlete. However, through the IEA, you participate as an individual and also part of a team. So while you go in and you have that competition, it's just you and the horse at the time, your points and what you're doing in the ring is part of that bigger picture of your team. So it teaches you within an individual sport how to have that team aspect too, and the camaraderie and how that, how working together and rooting for each other as a team, the friendships that come around, and friendships at the barn, and going back to, where I grew up is, it's all ages. You've got the 7-year-old that loves the horse, and you've got the 70-year-old that loves the horse, and they can really get together and learn about each other through that vehicle of the horse and their love for the horse. So there's just, I don't know, I think a zillion aspects that are gained by working in any sport, but particularly through riding. There's also so much to be gained as far as empathy and listening skills and mindfulness and all those as participating in equestrian sports specifically.
And Myron, you and I were talking recently, and you were telling me about what some of the parents say about what it does for their kids socially with friends and gaining friends in the schools.
Oh, it's as Roxanne said, it's really teamwork.
Yeah.
If you look at the top level of riding across the world, while they're on a team, they're really riding individually, and these young equestrians support each other with physical work as well as while cheering their teammate on. What we find really interesting is they also cheer for the competitors because they want everybody to do well. When we've gone into the group and quizzed them, especially the folks that have their own horses and compete outside of the IEA, we ask, why do you stay inside the IEA? And the answer is always because I have to be with my teammates. Mm-hmm. They like that interaction in what they're building socially. And they get that support. It transfers not to, we like to say they're barn rats because they're in the barn all the time. But the reality is when they go to school, they're a pack. This one introduces this one to another one, and it really helps them socially. It's very important. They have a commonality through the sport.
And Roxanne, a lot of these kids go on to get scholarships to college through their equestrian sports, right?
Yes, yeah, that's again been one of our main goals, going back to the idea of recognition. One of our goals in creating the organization is to create accessibility, but also recognition as athletes. And so what we've seen on the college side is that the collegiate programs have grown and grown, and there are lots and lots of college scholarships, just like for any other sport now. So there are several main college programs, and through those you can get anything from a small scholarship that pays for your books all the way to a free ride. So there are programs at the top schools in the country that will offer a full ride, just like for some of their top football players. So those are things that are participating in IEA is helping the riders find those programs, and the programs find them. They do have recruiting agents that come to our shows and some of the other shows as well. And again, anything that helps a student find a pathway into college or a more affordable pathway into college is certainly inherently useful.
Now, Myron, she was saying earlier that this is for many kids an entry level. So if a child has never been on a horse before, can they come to you?
We require each of our members to have 1 year of instruction.
Okay.
So if you're a fourth grader, you have to start when you're in the third grade having a coach. You need that under your belt. We always want the kids to have fun, but we always want to have them to be safe.
But that training is a part of your program.
No, that's not. That comes from
Okay.
the coaches. We have over 1,000 coaches across the country.
Okay.
And they have to go to a barn and take lessons for at least a year, and then they can apply.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so basically, you don't want a rider going into competition if they don't know how to ride.
Right.
And and we are a draw-based format, so you have to have experience riding a couple of different horses. There are different types. Some want to be fast, some want to be slow, some take lots of legs, some take more hand, some take a delicate touch, some need a lot of power. So as a rider, you need to have at least we figure a year of experience will give you enough in riding several different horses and several different types of horses, different body types of horses even, that you are safely prepared to participate in the IEA. We do have now the lowest ability level in the IEA is a walk trot or walk jog, and they do not actually show at the canter or lope, but we do say they need to know how to do that. So again, you're riding a horse from the horses are based on the ability level of the horse too. So, we put up beginner horses into beginner classes and upper level horses into upper level classes. But within that, you're getting on a horse you don't know. You don't want to accidentally canter and not know how. So our basic level of knowledge is you need to know how to walk, trot, canter, walk, jog, lope, and then you're ready to participate in the IEA.
Do the kids have any responsibility for helping take care of the horses?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. When they're not riding, they're holding horses or getting the horses in and out of the barns for the stable. We have a gate person in the end gate and say, okay, we need this horse, XYZ. And so their horse is moving and the kids do. Yeah, they don't come just ride and watch. For the most part, they have some responsibility at each show.
Yeah, they learn a lot about horse show management, and our coaches do too. One of the requirements of being in the IEA is it's really built on a community idea. I liken it to a potluck party. Like we're going to have a dinner at your house one night, and we'll all bring something, but you're going to provide most of the meal, and then the next week we'll have the dinner at my house. But we'll need you to bring something too. So the shows are like that too. So every IEA team is required to host or co-host a horse show. There's some variables in that, like new teams don't have to do it in their first year. We want to make sure you learn the process of how to host the shows. But essentially, every team will host one or co-host 2 horse shows. And within that, every member of the team is part of learning how to put on a horse show too.
We're talking today about the Interscholastic Equestrian Association with the executive director and co-founder, Roxanne Durant, and with co-founder and board member, Myron Leff. If you have any questions about the organization, you can go to their website, which is rideiea.org. Again, that's rideiea.org. Roxanne, what different disciplines are there for riding and the competition for the kids in the IEA?
That's a good question. We really offer all of what I think of as the ring sports, the in the ring riding disciplines. So we have hunt seat, western, and dressage. Hunt seat is based on the original basis of fox hunting, and so there are classes on the flat in hunt seat attire and equipment. And there are classes over fences. So we start in the fence level, starts at a small crossrail level on up to a 2'6" would be the highest height that we offer. Within the Western, we do horsemanship, ranch riding, and reining. Horsemanship is your basic rail work. There may be a little bit of individual pattern work in some of the classes also. Ranch riding, we view as sort of the entry point into the reining competitions. Ranch riding is pattern work, and it's a more simplified pattern. So a rider would go in individually and do a pattern, in Western attire and Western equipment. And then reining is really the top level of pattern work, based on, maneuvers you would need if you were working cattle out on the ranch. And those have really high level of movements, of spins and stops. And, that's the cool stuff that you see in Yellowstone. You'll see them doing some reining and stuff there. So that's really the coolest level of our Western riders. And I think everybody secretly, especially Myron, everybody secretly wants to ride a reiner. That looks pretty cool and fun. We also offer, and this is pretty new to us, we've only had a couple years, probably including our pilot years, about 5 years, I think, of offering dressage as an offering too. So dressage is really based on advanced flat work. And we offer 2 types of classes within dressage. Also, one is a group class called the dressage seat equitation. And that is based on group work, very similar to the hunt seat on the flat class. And then we do dressage, essentially is known for pattern classes, which is working a predetermined pattern around a ring. It's, when you see the ring with the letters all around it, you'll see that in Olympic stuff on television a lot. That is the dressage portion. So we do all of those. And I would say too, one thing that's important, if some of the listeners are thinking, how do I get that beginner experience? Where do I go to learn to ride to even get on an IEA team? One really good place to find teams anywhere around the country is on our website. We have maps for each of the disciplines, and you can zoom in on those maps and say, hey, I live in Columbus, where is a team near me? And those teams are likely to be offering introductory instruction as well as, team participation. Mm-hmm. So those are very good resources if you're looking for where do I take my child to learn how to ride.
Yeah. And they're broken down by the disciplines. Mm-hmm. And what's fun, we have a fairly good percentage of what we call crossover riders. So there'll be a rider that will be riding hunt seat and then switch later in the day, and they're Western or dressage, so it's really funny. We have a few that actually do all 3 disciplines in competition.
Yeah, we did this past year. We did a grand undertaking, and it was a heck of a success. We did our national finals, which is usually broken down by discipline. Some years we've done 3 separate national finals, one for each. Sometimes we'll put one of the disciplines together with another one. Well, last year for our 20th anniversary, we did our national finals as all 3 under one roof over a big, glorious week, and it was a blast. We had hunt seat going in one ring all 4 days, and then we had dressage and Western swapping off in the morning and afternoon in another ring. And we were in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and it was just, everyone had a great time. You learn so much from interacting with the other disciplines, and I guarantee you we will have more crossover riders this year who said, I came here for hunt seat finals, but that reining looked pretty fun. I think I'm going to learn to do Western now too.
Yeah, and the hats in Western are much more fun.
Oh, there you go. Now the kids that go on to college and get scholarships in equestrian sports, is there one particular a discipline for them, or do they have to specialize, or can they still do all 3?
They could do all 3. Probably they're going to end up choosing one path or another. Now, there are exceptions to that, of course, but for the most part, if you're going in for a college scholarship, it's probably because you've been chosen to be a specific point rider on one of their teams. So there are multiple collegiate organizations and colleges that are under several of these programs are likely to offer scholarships. So the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association, they really are the founder of all of this. So Bob Cascione, who's their original founder, he really started this idea of the draw-based format. Schools that participate in the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association have teams that are Western or hunt seat. There is the the IDA, which is the Intercollegiate Dressage Association, so that is clearly specific to dressage. And then the NCEA, which is really a NCAA equestrian, but their name now is NCEA, which is National Collegiate Equestrian Association. And they are really the NCAA of equestrian sports, and you can go take that path through Hunt Seat or through Western.
Mm-hmm. Myron, how many members do you have now?
We're over 14,000.
That's pretty amazing. How big was the competition in Harrisburg?
Wow, we had so keeping in mind they had the riders have to go through multiple paths to qualify for nationals. So first of all, they can do a maximum of, depending on the discipline, 5 or 6 regular season horse shows. Within those regular season shows, they have to accumulate a minimum number of points. There's 2 paths to qualify. They can qualify either as an individual rider or their team as a group can qualify. So minimal points qualify you for regionals. At the regional level, the top teams and top riders at regionals will then move on to zones. From zones, the top 1 or 2 riders and top 1 or 2 teams then go on to nationals. So, this funnel of 14,000, 15,000 riders comes down to the ones that get into nationals. We had, I think, 500 individual riders and people everywhere. Every rider comes with the whole, their whole family, grandma, grandpa, everybody's there. They're there for the whole weekend. It was really a lot of fun.
We have about all in more than 3,500 people for our joint finals when we put them all together. It's quite the spectacle.
Now, we only have a minute or so left, but I did want to touch on one thing. If I'm a parent and I'd like for my kids to get into this, one of the things, of course, they're going to think about is safety, and I'm sure you take that very seriously.
Yes, absolutely. And we comply with all of the, all the basic standard requirements in the industry of safety equipment, of participation, of, equipment on the horse and equipment, the riding apparel and safety helmets. We do require safety helmets and, approved safety helmets in all of the hunt seat and dressage disciplines. They're required at the lower levels of the Western as well. Western upper level riders are allowed to, they can choose to wear a traditional cowboy hat. That is the industry standard in Western. But they also are allowed to wear any safety equipment or safety helmet throughout their competition that they would like to as well.
We've been talking today about the Interscholastic Equestrian Association, and again, they say, you provide the kid, we provide the horse. So if you have questions about it, if you'd like to get your child involved in equestrian sports, you can read all about it at their website, which is rideiea.org. It's a robust website with a lot of pages and a lot of good information. But the executive director and co-founder, Roxanne Durant, has been here along with co-founder and board member Myron Leff. And thanks so much for stopping by today and giving us some more information about IEA.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for listening to Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. You can send questions or comments about today's show to Columbus Concerns in care of this station, 1458 Dublin Road, Columbus 43215. Or email us at columbusconcerns@napcomedia.com.
I'm Tiffany Haddish.
And I'm Marlon Wayans. African Americans are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer than any other racial or ethnic group.
When you or someone you love is facing a pancreatic cancer diagnosis, access to cutting-edge treatment can help make long-term survival possible and improve future patient outcomes.
That's why Stand Up to Cancer and the Lustgarten Foundation have teamed up to bring over 30 pancreatic cancer clinical trials to those who need them.
Learning all you can about pancreatic cancer, including treatment options and what clinical trials are available, can give you or a loved one even more than hope. It can help make long-term survival possible.
For more information about the latest pancreatic cancer research and clinical trials near you, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.